John sat on the edge of his old, creaky bed, his hands covering his face. The dim light from a flickering bulb barely lit the small, rundown apartment. Bills were scattered on the table, each one a painful reminder of how badly life was treating him. His stomach growled, but he ignored it. There wasn't enough food for everyone, and his daughter, Lily, needed it more than he did. He had promised himself he would never let her go to sleep hungry, but tonight he had failed. Lily, only 6 years old, lay on the thin mattress in the corner of the room, wrapped in a worn-out blanket. She had been coughing all evening, her little body weak from sickness. John's heart ached every time he heard her struggle to breathe. The doctor had prescribed medicine, but where would he get the money to buy it? His pockets were empty, just like his hope. Work had been tough. The construction site where he labored paid too little and demanded too much. His boss had even warned him that if he missed another day, he'd lose the job. But what choice did he have? Last week, he had stayed home to take care of Lily when her fever was too high. Now he was paying the price. The landlord had knocked on his door earlier, demanding rent. "You have 3 days, John. After that, you're out." The words echoed in his head like a nightmare he couldn't escape. He sighed and ran his fingers through his messy hair. There had to be a way. He got up and searched through his drawers, hoping to find some forgotten coins. Nothing. His hands moved to the pockets of an old jacket hanging behind the door. As he patted them down, his fingers touched something crumpled. He pulled it out and squinted at it under the weak light. A lottery ticket. John frowned. He barely remembered buying it. It must have been months ago, when he had a few extra coins and a foolish moment of hope. He had seen the numbers flashing on a small shop's display and thought, why not? But life had been too hard since then, and he had completely forgotten about it. He let out a dry laugh. A worthless piece of paper. That's all it was. He turned it over in his hand, debating whether to throw it away. What was the point? He never had good luck. People like him didn't win lotteries. Rich people got richer, and the poor kept struggling. That was the way of the world. But then, a thought crept into his mind. What if? His heart beat a little faster. He knew the chances were almost impossible, but something inside him refused to let go. He placed the ticket on the table and stared at it. The numbers were faded, but they were still readable. Maybe he should check. Maybe, just maybe, fate had a small miracle left for him. John sighed, rubbing his tired eyes. He would go to the store in the morning and check the ticket. It wouldn't change anything, he was sure of that, but at least he could say he tried. He glanced at Lily, who was still shivering despite the blanket. If only he had money, he would take her to a good doctor, buy her warm clothes, and fill the kitchen with food. His thoughts were interrupted by the sound of rain tapping against the window. Another cold night. He pulled his thin sweater tighter around himself and lay down on the floor. The hard surface pressed against his back, but he had gotten used to it. His eyes stayed fixed on the lottery ticket as he drifted into uneasy sleep. Morning came too soon. The sun barely made its way through the dusty window, but John was already awake. His body ached from sleeping on the floor, but he pushed himself up. He looked at Lily, still curled up in the blanket, her face pale. He couldn't waste any more time. He picked up the ticket and slipped it into his pocket. The small store down the street had a lottery machine. He would go there before work and check. Deep down, he expected nothing. Life had never given him anything for free. But for some reason, his fingers tightened around the ticket as he stepped outside into the cold morning air. As he walked, the streets were busy with people rushing to work, children laughing, and cars honking. It was just another ordinary day. But for John, something felt different. A strange feeling stirred inside him, something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. You said. John walked quickly through the cold morning air, his hands buried deep in his pockets. The lottery ticket was still there, crumpled but safe. He wasn't sure why he was even bothering. It was probably worthless, just like everything else in his life. but something inside him wouldn't let him throw it away. The small corner store was just a few blocks away. It wasn't much, a tiny place with dusty shelves and a blinking neon sign that barely worked. The bell above the door jingled as he stepped inside. The warmth from the heater made him realize how cold he had been outside. "Morning, John." The cashier, an older man named Rick, greeted him. "You look like you didn't sleep." John forced a tired smile. "Rough night." Rick nodded, understanding. Everyone in the neighborhood knew about John's struggles. "What can I get you?" John hesitated for a moment, then pulled out the ticket. "Can you check this for me?" His voice was casual, like he didn't care, but his fingers gripped the ticket tightly. Rick took it and fed it into the lottery machine. The machine beeped, processing the numbers. John's heart pounded, even though he told himself not to expect anything. Then the machine made a different sound, a long beep, louder than usual. Rick's eyes widened. He looked at the screen, then back at John. "John, where did you get this ticket?" John frowned. "I bought it months ago." "Why?" Rick swallowed hard. He lowered his voice. This is a winning ticket." John blinked, his mind struggling to process the words. "What?" Rick looked around nervously, then leaned in. "John, this ticket is worth millions." The world seemed to stop. John felt like he couldn't breathe. His hands went numb, and his legs almost gave out beneath him. Millions? That couldn't be right. People like him didn't win millions. This had to be some kind of mistake. Rick quickly pulled the ticket from the machine and handed it back. "Listen to me, John. Don't tell anyone. Go straight to the lottery office. Keep this ticket safe." John's heart pounded so hard he thought it might burst. His entire life had just changed in an instant, but he barely had time to process it. He looked around. A few people in the store were watching curiously. Had they heard? Did they know? He shoved the ticket deep into his pocket. His hands were shaking. He needed to get out of here. He needed to think. As he stepped outside, the cold air hit him like a slap. His mind raced. What would he do with that kind of money? He could pay the rent, buy medicine for Lily, give her the life she deserved. He could finally be free. But then, a strange feeling crept over him. A chill ran down his spine. He had the uneasy sense that someone was watching him. And he was right. Across the street, a man in a dark jacket stood near a lamppost. His eyes were locked on John. He wasn't just a passerby. He had been there when John entered the store, and now he was still there. John's grip tightened in his pocket, holding onto the ticket like his life depended on it. Because suddenly, it felt like it did. John's pulse quickened as he turned down the street, trying to act normal. His mind screamed at him to stay calm, but the weight of the lottery ticket in his pocket felt heavier than ever. He resisted the urge to look over his shoulder. Was the man still following him? Was he imagining it? He forced himself to breathe slowly. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe the man was just standing there, minding his own business. But deep down, he knew better. He had lived in rough neighborhoods long enough to know when someone was watching him. John took a sudden turn into a narrow alley, hoping to lose him. The cold air stung his face as he walked faster, his boots splashing through puddles. His mind raced. He had to get to the lottery office before anything happened. He had to keep this ticket safe. But as he stepped out of the alley and onto another street, his stomach dropped. The man in the dark jacket was there, standing near a parked car. He hadn't lost him. He was being followed. John's heart pounded. Why was this happening? Had the man overheard Rick in the store? Did he know about the ticket? John didn't wait to find out. He crossed the street quickly, weaving through people, trying to disappear in the morning crowd. His breathing was heavy now, his hands sweaty despite the cold. The ticket burned in his pocket. He took another turn, this time into a busier market street. People were everywhere. Vendors selling food, children running, old men talking loudly. He ducked between two stalls and dared to glance back. The man was still there. And this time, he was moving faster. John's stomach twisted. He needed to think. He needed a plan. He couldn't let this stranger get near him. He couldn't let him take the ticket. Then, out of nowhere, a hand grabbed his arm. John's body tensed as he spun around, ready to fight. But it wasn't the man in the dark jacket. It was someone else. Someone worse. A tall, broad-shouldered man with a scar across his cheek smirked at him. "Hey, buddy," he said in a low voice. "I hear you just got lucky." John's blood ran cold. His worst fear had come true. They knew. "You said." John's breath caught in his throat as he stared at the man gripping his arm. His fingers dug into John's sleeve, strong and unshakable. The scared man smirked, his dark eyes scanning John like a predator sizing up its prey. "I think you've got something valuable," the man murmured, leaning in closer. His breath smelled of cigarettes and something rotten. "Hand it over, and I won't make this difficult." John's mind raced. His first instinct was to deny it, to act like he didn't know what the man was talking about. But it was useless. Someone had seen him at the store. Someone had told this guy. And now he was trapped. He forced himself to stay calm. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, trying to pull away. "I don't have anything." The man chuckled, but there was no humor in it. "Come on, don't play dumb. A guy like you doesn't walk out of a store looking that shaken unless he just won something big." His grip tightened. "Now, be smart. Hand over the ticket." John's heart pounded. He glanced around, hoping someone would notice what was happening. The street was busy, but no one paid attention. Just another struggling man being pushed around. Nothing new in this part of town. A new kind of fear took over. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about survival. If he gave the ticket away, his last hope would be gone. His daughter would stay sick. His debts would drown him. He would lose everything. No, he couldn't let that happen. John's hand shot up, knocking the man's grip loose for just a second. He didn't wait. He bolted. He shoved past a fruit stand, sending apples rolling onto the street. Vendors shouted, but he didn't stop. He ran like his life depended on it. Because it did. Behind him, the scared man cursed. "Get him." John didn't dare look back. He sprinted through the market, dodging carts, leaping over crates, pushing through crowds. His legs burned, his breath came in ragged gasps, but he didn't slow down. He spotted an alley up ahead, narrow, dark, a possible escape. Without thinking, he turned into it. Bad idea. The alley was a dead end. A tall brick wall loomed in front of him. No doors, no fire escapes. Nothing. Trapped. John spun around just as heavy footsteps pounded behind him. The scared man and the guy in the dark jacket blocked the entrance, closing in like wolves. John pressed his back against the wall, his mind racing for a way out. His hand clutched his pocket where the ticket was hidden. If they took it, his dream was over. And by the looks on their faces, they weren't planning to let him walk away. "You said." John's breath came in sharp gasps as he pressed himself against the cold brick wall. His hands balled into fists, but he knew he was no fighter. The scared man cracked his knuckles, stepping forward with a slow, confident grin. The man in the dark jacket stayed back, blocking the alley's only exit. There was no way out. "Now," the scared man said, rolling his shoulders, "let's not make this ugly." His tone was almost friendly, but his eyes were cold. "Just hand over the ticket, and we'll pretend this never happened." John's heart pounded against his ribs. He was cornered, outnumbered, and outmatched. His mind screamed at him to do something, anything. But what? He swallowed hard. "I don't have it." The scared man's grin faded. His expression darkened. Wrong answer. Before John could react, a fist slammed into his stomach. The pain exploded through him, knocking the air from his lungs. He doubled over, gasping. His knees nearly buckled, but he forced himself to stay on his feet. "You don't want to play this game with us, buddy," the man sneered. "We don't lose." John's fingers trembled as he clutched his pocket. The ticket was still there, pressed against his leg. If they found it, it was over. Everything. Lily's future, his one chance at escaping this miserable life, would be gone. No, he couldn't let that happen. Desperation took over. He had to get out of here. His eyes darted around, searching for anything he could use. His gaze landed on a pile of trash cans to his right. It wasn't much, but it was all he had. Gritting his teeth, he lunged to the side and shoved the nearest trash can with all his strength. It toppled over, crashing loudly, spilling garbage across the alley. The scared man cursed and stepped back, just for a second. A second was all John needed. He ran. He shoved past the man in the dark jacket, catching him off guard. The moment he hit the street, he sprinted like never before, weaving through the crowd, ignoring the pain in his ribs. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew he had to get far, far away. "Stop him!" a voice roared behind him. John didn't stop. He couldn't. His legs burned, his lungs screamed for air, but he kept running. He took sharp turns, darting down unfamiliar streets, pushing through crowds, ignoring the angry shouts of people he bumped into. Then he saw it. A bus. It was just pulling away from the curb, its doors still open. It was his only chance. John leaped onto the steps just as the doors hissed shut behind him. He barely made it. He stumbled forward, gripping the handrails, gasping for breath. The driver barely spared him a glance before pulling into traffic. John risked a look through the window. The scared man and the other guy were stuck on the sidewalk, furious, watching the bus drive away. John sagged against the seat, his body shaking. He did it. He escaped. But he knew this wasn't over. They weren't going to stop. And now, they knew his face. He had to claim the ticket fast, before they found him again. "You said." John sat on the bus, his heart still hammering against his ribs. His hands trembled as he clutched the seat in front of him, trying to catch his breath. He had barely escaped. But for how long? The city blurred past the window, but his mind was focused on one thing: the ticket. It was still in his pocket, safe. For now. He had to get to the lottery office before those men found him again. They knew what he had. They wouldn't give up. The bus jerked to a stop, and John looked around nervously. His paranoia was getting worse. Every person seemed like a threat. Was someone watching him? Had those men sent others after him? He shook his head. He was losing it. He needed to think clearly. He pulled the lottery ticket out for just a second, glancing at it. His hands were dirty, and there was a smudge on the paper. But the numbers were still there, the numbers that could change his life. His fingers tightened around it. He couldn't afford to lose it now. The bus announced the next stop, downtown, close to the lottery office. This was it. John stood up, moving toward the door as the bus slowed. He stepped off, his body tense, eyes scanning the street. Crowds of people bustled around. But he didn't see the scared man or his partner. Maybe he had finally lost them. He picked up his pace, keeping his head down as he weaved through the busy streets. The lottery office was only a few blocks away. His heart pounded with every step, just a little more. Then, just as he reached the final street before the office, his stomach dropped. A black car was parked across the road. The same car he had seen near the market. And standing beside it, the scared man. John froze for a split second, panic gripping his chest. How? How had they gotten here so fast? Had they guessed where he was going? The scared man turned, and their eyes met. His lips curled into a knowing smirk. John's blood ran cold. He had seconds, only seconds, to react. Run. He bolted toward the lottery office, pushing through people, his heart racing. Shouts erupted behind him. Heavy footsteps pounding against the pavement. They were coming. The office doors were right there, so close. John lunged forward, gripping the handle, yanking it open. And then, a strong hand grabbed his shoulder, jerking him back. "No," John gasped, struggling, twisting, fighting. But the grip was iron-tight. The scared man leaned in close, his voice a low growl. "You really thought you could run from me?" John struggled, his heart hammering against his ribs. The scared man's grip tightened on his shoulder, pulling him back from the lottery office doors. The bright lights inside were so close, just a few steps away, but now they felt impossibly far. "Let me go." John twisted, trying to break free, but the man was too strong. "Shay," the scared man murmured, his voice almost mocking. "You don't want to make a scene, do you?" John glanced around in desperation. People were walking past, but no one stopped. No one wanted to get involved. In this city, trouble was something to avoid. The man in the dark jacket stepped up beside them, his expression calm, almost bored. "This is taking too long," he muttered. "Just take the ticket and be done with it." John's pulse spiked. "No, no." Before he could react, the scared man's hand moved toward his pocket. Now or never. With everything he had, John stomped down hard on the man's foot. The scared man let out a sharp curse, his grip loosening for a split second. John didn't hesitate. He yanked free and lunged forward, shoving through the doors of the lottery office. The warmth inside hit him immediately, but he barely noticed. He raced toward the counter, ignoring the confused looks from employees and customers. I need to claim a ticket," he gasped, slamming it down on the counter. His hands shook, his lungs burned, but he didn't care. He made it. He made it. A woman behind the counter blinked at him in surprise. "Sir, please calm down. Lock the doors," he blurted out, glancing over his shoulder. The scared man and his partner were outside, glaring through the glass. They couldn't follow him now. They couldn't touch him. John let out a shaky breath. He wasn't safe yet, but for the first time, he felt like maybe, just maybe, he had won.